Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of, well, it's not the first, but it's the first of the series of episodes that we're going to be doing. And today we have a guest. His name is Tim Conrad, and he's going to be telling his story. He's a firefighter, and I'm going to introduce him in the screen, on the screen, whatever. And he's gonna be telling his story, and then we're gonna be having, you can ask questions, whatever you want. This is a open conversation, safe space, and we are here to talk about topics and just share stories and try to raise awareness and break the stigma and open a conversation that needs to be um, that we need to have. So yeah, all that. So I'm gonna put Tim, and he's gonna be talking about him. What? No. Sorry, guys.
Hey there.
This is Tim. You can go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, hello there. Bo, Beta, Yassine. How's everybody doing? So, today is actually a very special day for me. Uh, we we were supposed to do this last week, and Lucia wasn't feeling too hot, and so we decided to reschedule for this week. I didn't even think about it, but today I picked up my 1 year chip from AA. Today is the day.
This
Today,
wasn't planned. I had no idea. We were talking on the pre-live, and he told me that, and I was like, "What?" So yes, congrats,
yes,
Tim.
thank you. Thank you.
Go on.
So, this will kind of, I guess, just continue off of what I've been doing most of the day. I went to a meeting earlier when I picked up my chip, and I had to share my experience, strength, and hope. Um, so we'll keep it going. If you saw my initial broadcast on the platform, then you kind of heard, my story. But I'm going to kind of go through it roughly, maybe a little shorter, so we have time to chat. But basically, I am an alcoholic. Um, I came to terms with that last year, uh, 1 year ago today, actually. And I've been working a pretty successful and strong program uh, so far. And I hope it stays that way. As long as I keep putting the work forward, I'm sure it will. But this time last year, I was laying in a hospital bed for the third time in 2 short months because of pancreatitis. I have drank myself, self medicated, is the way I can best describe it, because I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, PTSD, the works, severe depression. I'll get into that in a minute, but so I was just drinking because I was always good at drinking, or at least I thought I was good at drinking, because I could do it in excess and have virtually no consequences, no hangovers. I could still function normally all day, every day. Um, with the exception of when I was on duty at work as a firefighter. I never drank there for whatever reason. That's where I drew the line. And, I was never at work intoxicated. or drank at work. For whatever reason, I could shut it off then. But anyway, um, so I was drinking. I started drinking when I was like 17, 18 years old, very end of high school, going to parties and stuff. And I took a liking to it. Now, this runs pretty rampant in my family from both sides, from my mom's side and dad's side, alcoholism. So, I mean, all the warning signs were there, but I was going to be that guy that it didn't affect. Like, I was going to be the one that successfully made it through, and I was immune to it. I think we all kind of think we're in some way, shape, or form, we have like the superhuman power that it's not going to affect us. Well, that may be true for some things, but some other things are going to get you. And I found out that this got me. So I had drank quite a good bit through my early 20s, and I didn't. I guess I didn't realize how much it was adding up. It was just a normalcy for me. There was always beer around. There was always I got off of the hard liquor train because I did wind up scaring the hell out of myself one time on the hard liquor, because I never usually got drunk. Like, I would just get a decent buzz, enough I could still function properly, and I would maintain that all day long. Um, well, hard liquor would get me past that point, and I didn't like the feeling. I felt a little out of control. Imagine that, the alcoholic that feels out of control. but uh so yeah, but that was a thing for me, being able to maintain that baseline buzz all day long was a sense of control for me. Like, I still had my wits about me at that point. I still controlled my destiny. But long story short, lots of drinking, lots of
How
masking,
long ago was that? Sorry.
No, that's okay. That the that I gave up hard liquor.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I think I was about 24 years old. So 10 years ago. I am 34 now. So yeah, after that I stuck pretty much with just good old fashioned Bud Light. That was it. That was my beer of choice. I did like the craft beers and stuff, but I couldn't drink 20 of those,
Yeah.
Drinking one of those is like drinking a loaf of bread. So, yeah, so I stuck with the light beer and a lot of it. So moving forward, then, I drank for a good solid part of my 20s, all of them, I guess. And I figured when I hit 30s, got married, started having a family, that things would, settle down. Like, it would kind of run its course for me. Like, the college years are over. It's time to, buckle down and
Settle
start.
down.
Yeah, that never happened. It just kept going, and it got worse. As I worked in my field for longer and longer, the bad calls we run continue to add up. And you know as we as we're pretty much trained in this profession from the very beginning, is that you check your emotions at the door, and you don't bring any trash into the station, you don't take any out with you to your family. So there's not a whole lot of us out there that'll tell you that we're bothered by something that we see on the scene, or we have to maintain composure, and we have to maintain some sort of control over the scene at the time of the call, whether it be an accident, a fire, or just an ambulance call. People call for help. They need somebody that's got it together, that's not falling apart on the scene right next to you, etc. And we don't, the adrenaline gets going, and you're not even thinking about it, to be honest with you. As
So
long as that adrenaline.
you think your job was part of the reason that you kept drinking? Like it was your way of coping?
Yeah, I think it definitely played a significant part in it. Not that I am saying anything negative about my job. I love my job to
No,
this
no, I
day.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean I'm on shift tomorrow and I'm already excited to go to work. Like it's a great feeling to be in a profession that even 15 years later I'm still excited to
Yeah.
get up and go to work.
No, and the fact that you never, you draw the line and you never actually drink while you were working, it says a lot about how much you respect what you were doing. So
Right.
that's a lot.
Hmm. Yeah. It's yeah, I like I said, I still it baffles me that I had that there was a line that I drew, like that's it. Um, but anyway, um, so yeah, 1 year ago today, I was laying in the hospital bed because of all my drinking. There wasn't any arguing with it. There wasn't any, well, maybe I've got bum organs or anything. No, the
Hmm.
doctor pretty much said you screwed your pancreas up pretty bad with alcohol, and your liver's not doing so hot either. Um, so they did say if you quit drinking today, you will live a normal, healthy life. But if you continue to drink, it's going to deteriorate and you will die, your pancreas and liver. The liver has the ability to heal itself over time.
Hmm.
Um, Much like your lungs after you quit smoking, they kind of start healing themselves. The liver can do that as well. But the pancreas is now forever damaged. Um, so, yeah, I just have to maintain a sober life and I'll live a normal, healthy life. Um, so that's where I am at now. Now, how I got here was by going inpatient to a rehab facility, which I fought tooth and nail for so long. I mean, I lost a marriage over this stuff. I lost pretty much everything good in my life except my job. And maybe that's because I kept that boundary away from my job. But I lost
Hmm.
I lost almost everything. Um, Yellow Brick Road. uh, that's a good song. That's my fave. Um, anyway, back to the hospital. Uh, yeah, so I was laying in there, laying in my own filth, I guess you could say, and thinking about what I'd done. And they gave me that news. I came home after 11 days in the hospital. I came home. And by the way, that was not a fun stay. Uh,
Yeah, well,
pancreatitis,
I can imagine
pancreatitis,
that.
yeah, pancreatitis, for those of you that don't know, is some of the worst pain I have ever felt in my life. We ask our patients on the ambulance all the time if they can rate their pain on a 10 out of 10 scale, 10 being the worst pain you ever felt in your life. And I mean, they could have stubbed their toe and it's always an 11. So I was very, very, I never wanted to ever say 10 out of 10 because I know that's always bullcrap, but that is my 10 out of 10 pain for sure. Uh, it was horrible. But anyway, I go back home. I'm good for 2 weeks. I know what I have to do. And if I want to live healthy and I want to live long, then I have to do this. Well, my depression was still not checked. My PTSD was still not in check, and my anxiety was still not in check. So I may have wanted to, uh, you know, it all sounded good to me. I can do this. But with those three things still unchecked, it wasn't very long before my brain was saying, well, let's try and see if, one or two drinks is going to hurt the old pancreas. And so I did. It didn't take much to talk myself into it. I'm an addict. Um, and yeah, I got right back into it heavy because one day didn't hurt. So then the next day I had to try it again. That day didn't hurt, and I kept going until I found myself right back in the hospital. Um, and prior to that was, I guess, my quote unquote rock bottom, is I was pretty drunk. Because at this point I had gone back to hard liquor because it was easy to sneak. I mean, my wife was on board with all this now. She knew what was going on. So it's pretty hard to try and sneak 30 beers around trying to get drunk all day long. So I went back to the hard liquor because it was quick and it was
It was faster. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was pretty hammered one night and my side was hurting all over again. I'm like, God bless, I did it again. And I basically just fell to a puddle on the floor, and I told my wife that this is way beyond me, and I am essentially killing myself, and I need help. Um, and that was it. I went back to the hospital for another 8 days so they can straighten me out again and get me healthy enough to go to rehab. And then off I went down the road to rehab. I spent 44 days last summer, so I went in on June 25th, a week from today, a week and a day from today. I went down.
That was in the middle of the pandemic.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yep. That was that was all right for me. Like, the pandemic didn't really affect much about rehab because you're kind of in a bubble, your own little world there anyway. So as long as you pass your 48 hours of quarantine, which was the only thing we had to do, was quarantine by ourselves for 2 days, and then we could join Gen Pop. We as long as that was good, you were good. So nobody in, nobody off the premises, nobody, other than the clinicians that came in to do treatment. But yeah, so I mean, at rehab, you're pretty much locked away from the world anyway. So there wasn't much.
Exactly.
I didn't miss much. But yeah, 44 days later of intensive therapy, I came home and started my own program. So while I got to give all the credit to the world, to the folks at the rehab center, without them, I would not be as successful. I don't feel like I would be as successful as I was or am so far. They gave me
your job, they were okay. I mean, they gave you the space for you to do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. I called my captain the night that I went to the hospital for the last time, and I told him, I said, I'm not coming to work. I need to go. I need to go fix this. And he took care of everything on their end. Like, he was all for it. And luckily, the rehab facility I went to is run and operated by the IAFF, the International Association of Firefighters, which is our union,
Okay.
our nationwide union. So, and it's located right here in Maryland, of all places. So I didn't have far to go. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes from my house. But everybody across the country comes to this one center, all the firefighters. Yeah, so yeah, a special shout out to them for this 1 year chip today, because they gave me the groundwork and the foundation I needed, all the tools. It was a very intense process of trauma processing and just understanding me, learning about me, because that was kind of instilled early on in me. You can't do anything. You can't make this trip without first learning about you. You have to know what's going on inside your body. I know you know what I'm talking about, and yeah, you have to come to terms with it inside you and understand what's going on inside you before you can treat anything.
And that sometimes take a lot too. I mean, to come to terms with yourself. and be like, yes, I need to accept that.
Yes, I had to say the words that I had fought for all of my 20s. You know, I had many folks worried about me, I guess, along the way, and saying, "Hey, you might have a problem." I'm like, "Yeah, get out of here." Uh, but I had to come to terms with those 3 words. I'm an alcoholic, and after I was able to do that, I mean, just the floodgates opened for accepting this finally as a part of my life, and doing something about it. Um, what else? Oh, yeah. So I work a pretty strong program here at home now. In my days off, I do it at work too. Like the guys know, um, I usually hop on a meeting via Zoom uh, at like 10:30 in the morning, sometimes a little earlier. Thanks to Zoom, there's always a meeting 24 hours out of the day, so you never have any trouble finding anything. Like if I'm getting slammed on the ambulance all day, I can always come back at 11:30 at night and find some meeting going on in California or whatever.
Oh,
So I mean the pandemic has brought us some kind of good as well as bad. Um, so
so what's the, I mean, okay, you got the, okay, it's been a year, so you got your chip, and now what's the process? I don't know the word. What's, you have
now
to attend these meetings in a every day, or is it like a check-in, or
I try to um, from the get go. I was so when you start in AA, you want to find yourself a good sponsor. I was lucky to find a sponsor early. He helped me get on the right track because I had kind of had a bad experience early in my 20s with AA. I wasn't really having it, but back then I didn't really want to quit drinking either. So
exactly?
yeah, it was probably my own fault, but I had always swore AA off, and I don't know what. When I got home, I was in a different mindset. So I gave AA another shot, and I've been loving every minute of it. It really does work. It really works.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's, if you want to get help, you're, that's all, and if forcing someone to get help, that never works.
Right.
People, they will get back to whatever they were doing. It has to come from you.
Yeah.
You want to, if you want to get help, then that's how it's gonna work.
Mhm. Yeah. So I started by doing um, the 90 meetings in 90 days. Um, that's kind of like the AA push off. Like when you start in AA, they recommend you do 90 and 90. Um, so 3 months, a meeting a day, basically is all that is. And I did sometimes 2 meetings a day, and I still, even a year in, I'm still doing uh, at least one a day. It's very rare that I'll miss a day, um, just because I enjoy getting on and talking to the folks too, like or
Yeah,
listening to the shares. I don't always share anymore, um, but because I feel like at some point I've hit everything that I need to, that I have to say. Sometimes things still pop up in my head, but for the most part, I'm just sharing the same thing over and over again. But I definitely like listening to other people and seeing what they're doing, and taking grounding techniques, anything like that. I'll hop on these broadcasts. I'm glad that I found you. I'll be watching a lot of your broadcasts now, and I'm doing my own. That kind of helps me as well. Now that I feel like I've got a pretty decent handle on the AA side of things, I want to keep busy and stay active in the community. and do service work. Step 12 of AA is all about service work. So, having had a spiritual awakening, we now go forth and help others along their road. I just recently took on a sponsee. I'm a sponsor now. Um, I'm helping him through his 12 steps of AA, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
doing,
great.
yeah. So there's a lot of good coming out of this. I got my 1 year chip today, so I'm super happy about that. And now from here forward, we're working on year 2. I'll get my year 2 chip.
Yeah, I mean, when you've been through stuff, trauma, whatever you want to call it, and it's been so, you've been hurt or whatever you want, it, the only thing that comes to your mind is, what can I do with this? So, doing this type of things, it's kind of, it's sort of okay. Yeah, I've been through a bunch of stuff, but maybe I can help someone by doing a broadcast, and I came across your broadcast, and now we're talking about it, and maybe you and me talking about this, someone in the comments, or someone, it's gonna, it's like a good snowball effect,
Yeah,
because that's what we have our voice to talk about our experience, what we went through, what we learn, what I don't know, what is useful for you when you're feeling down one day. What is it that you do? What is it you There's a million things that
sure.
we can share, and people might find useful. So I don't think this is a waste of time,
Oh, absolutely not.
and people can resonate and say, it's easier. We were talking about this earlier on the pre-life. It's easier for someone who's not ready to say it, that if I say sorry, um yeah, I was abused or whatever, and they say, oh yeah, that happened to me too. It's easier to say yes, me too, than to actually say the words, and that's a step. So when we talk, we're basically talking for people that are not ready to do that, because sometimes to be vulnerable um in front of a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, but just to be vulnerable with a bunch of strangers, it's kind of it's
Hmm.
it's kind
Yeah,
of it's not easy.
I
and and
agree.
they could say, well, they're such, well, I don't think no one is saying that I'm a great speaker, but it's not about being a great speaker. It's more about um the the weight that has what we're trying to say has more weight, that the fact that I'm super shy, and sometimes going live, it takes me a lot of effort, but what I have to say has more weight. So whatever, I'm just gonna go live, and I'm gonna say whatever I need to say, because these conversations need to be out there. There's no
Yeah.
reason why this needs to be happening more. We need to be seeing these type of conversations more. I don't know
Mhm.
why we're not seeing it. Maybe
Yes.
with the pandemic, that's gonna change. I hope it will, because it's gonna sadly it's gonna create a mental health crisis, and we're gonna see more cases, especially of PTSD.
Hmm.
um and yeah, I haven't seen
Yeah,
the comments in a while. Let me
shame and guilt is hell. That's truth.
uh, good morning, thank you for D. Hi. Wonderful that you can recognize today. So inspirational. That's for you. All of this is for you.
Oh,
Hello, Sarah.
I guess I should look too, huh?
I've definitely admitted and shared things I was too scared to say because someone else said it first. Exactly, yeah. It
Yeah.
shows that they're not alone. But yeah, exactly. Shame and guilt is the only thing that has ever made me feel suicidal. I never had been before. It's the worst. Wait, yeah. Can I just say how brave you are, Tim, for sharing your story? Thank you. Yes, he is extremely brave because being vulnerable, it's 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 brave. I mean, it's people think. I mean, the word it's doesn't sound brave for a lot of people, but I dare you to try it, and
Mhm.
it takes a lot. So
I was scared
because
to death when I
you're
uh,
exposing a part of yourself your that's not something that your best moment that you're most proud of, and you're just sharing it with the world. So yeah, it is a really brave thing to do.
yes, I was definitely nervous going live on here first. I've never done anything like that, but I'm always looking, like I said, I'm looking for new uh, avenues of ways to get this stuff out there, like, and to get the conversation continually going. Um, it's not a it's not a fun thing for anybody to be vulnerable, but as long as it brings some kind of good out of it, I'll do it any day of the week. Um, I just like to. That's become one of the most therapeutic things through this process
Hmm.
is trying to help. It's trying to put a good spin on this bad set of circumstances that has fallen
Yeah,
on me. So,
maybe at
and
first, like your first broadcast, you might feel like a little shy, but when you get hooked, you're gonna feel like you don't want to stop because you want to keep sharing. You have so much stuff that you've been through that you know it's gonna be worth talking about it, that you just want to go live every day. Veda is asking you, do you feel somewhat free being vulnerable even though it's scary?
certainly, um, it definitely feels. I don't. I guess yeah, like freedom. Um, kind of a breaking free of the chains that I guess the world or society has placed on us. Like we were talking about it in the pre-live, how like you come down with any of these diagnoses with PTSD or um, alcoholism, and like it's this shame that you carry around, like you're now to be shunned and outcast because you have this.
Well, the society
Yeah,
shames you.
and that shouldn't be the case. Like we shouldn't feel that way. This is completely normal. I mean, there are alcoholics amongst us, believe it or not. There are people that are
Hmm.
depressed that walk the earth as well. It's no different. We are no different as people than somebody that's given a diagnosis of lung cancer or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, insert diagnosis here.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
why shouldn't we walk around and talk about it and shout it from the rooftops and not be ashamed of it, but live with it, manage it, and cope with it together? And maybe we won't feel so shunned. I know when I first, I think the reason that I fought coming forward and saying I have a problem, I'm an alcoholic, is because of that stigma that I will be viewed as an outcast or like damaged goods almost. But it's just not the case. I came home from rehab and I made a conscious decision that I'm going to be open about this, and rules be damned. I'm going to talk about it, and if you don't like it, then go somewhere else. But
Exactly.
um, it's actually helped a lot of people. I have a female firefighter in my county, a fellow coworker that is in the program, has been for 4 years, and just never talked about it, never made mention of it. I had no idea she was even in the program, but she said today that me coming home and being so open about this and just coming out and being free, like Veda said, with it, and just it freed her. She was like way more relaxed about it and way more into talking with other folks about her sobriety now, because she saw me come home and, as she said, not give a care in the world. and now she's very open, and we run an AA meeting together. We started one up for first responders here in Frederick, and it's going
Oh,
really well.
really?
Yes.
And I had a question, but I lost my train of thought with this guy that I. Let me go back to the comments and see if I can remember what it was.
Sure. I was amongst the Walking Dead. Well, come out from the Walking Dead, Veda. I think you have. Yes,
Who's in here?
you certainly have. And it's all thanks to Dad. Nothing, nothing like a little Friday night dad.
Wow, I totally forgot. Oh my god. It
That's all right. There'll be more questions.
was a good one. You guys can keep talking. And we were talking about uh,
Yeah, I was speaking of forgetting everything there, like Veda just said. We were talking about that last night, or Veda's broadcast. She was saying how, you know, the brain has kind of turned to mush since the PTSD
oh,
diagnosis. And
wow.
I certainly agree with that. Like, I used to be really good memory, really good at crosswords, school, all that good stuff. It's it's a thing. PTSD brain. So constantly also trying to do things like crossword puzzles today, to resharpen and gain back some of that focus that I lost.
Sour breaker. Do you ever forget something as simple as turning on the oven? Ah, okay. Well, I thought you said turning off the oven. I was like, that's not simple, man. That's
Yeah,
quite the
throwing
pickle.
them, throwing in a nothing like throwing in a nice pot roast and not turning the oven on for 5 hours.
Wow, I am. Yep, I forget my thoughts with
That's
sentence
okay.
all the time.
Well, we brought up a good point in the pre-live how the pandemic coming to an end is going to be rough for um, folks with PTSD and everything because, um, I mean, well, you've certainly been foreshadowing it since before today. You've been talking about this for a while now, and I can't agree more. Um, Especially now that things are opening up along the uh, across the nation and across the world. Um, we've us folks with mental health diagnoses have been loving life right now because
Yeah,
we have been told to isolate and detach from the world. We've been forced to. It's okay. It's acceptable, but it's not healthy for us. But now everything's opening up again, and we have to get back out there in the world. Um, so I'm personally not looking forward to that, but I'm going to try and go at it with the same gusto I've had with being open and just get out there and be me.
yeah. I was telling Tim that at first when we got the lockdown here in DR, I still was going through my, the good times of my depression. So, um, when you open your eyes and you remember that you have to go to work, and it's like, and you get that feeling of, okay, what can I say today so I don't have to go to work? But you have
Hmm.
to. But with the lockdown, I remember waking up and it was like, wow, I get to stay home
Hmm.
and do nothing in my bed, and I'm not feeling guilty. I mean, my depression was having a blast, and obviously that's not healthy, but at the moment it felt great. um
Yeah,
After a while, yeah, it started, getting old, and I started getting all the anxiety, the mini heart attack you get in the morning when you wake up, and it's like, ooh,
yeah,
what's gonna happen today?
yeah, yeah.
So it's like we've been, if you have any type of mental health, whatever, during the pandemic, it's been like up and down and up and down, and it's like you've been through all types of stuff. Like, you've been over it, then on it again, then over it, then whatever. It's like, you've been
Yeah.
having a field day of new stuff, old stuff. But yeah,
Groundhog's Day, definitely. Just but it was good while it lasted, I guess. Because we it was acceptable to detach.
yeah.
But now it's time to get back out there because we know that it's not healthy for us. So uh, we gotta mix and mingle um, as much as we don't want
No,
to
I don't
sometimes.
mingle here still, but that's because people in here have been so reckless with the virus, that even though we're getting the vaccine, and we're gonna be like one of the few countries in the Caribbean, and like the America, that's gonna be 80% vaccinated um by the end of the year. We're going into a lockdown again because we're
Yeah,
we're having like a bunch of new cases because people think that, okay, I got my first vaccine and, you know, and
Yeah.
then, yeah, we're back to, you know, it's 7:50, everything is closed by 5 p.m. On weekends, it's closed by 3 p.m. It's insane. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen my friends. I haven't seen one friend in 2 years, and she lives in Miami.
That's crazy.
I
This whole
haven't seen any of my friends here. It's like, no, I'm not gonna go. You're all over the place, man. I've seen it on Instagram. I'm not getting together with you.
yeah. Yeah. This whole pandemic's been crazy. I haven't, obviously we haven't seen anything like it. Um, and it it didn't really affect my job much. Like I still had to go to work every day, if not even more. Um,
Well, yeah, ooh,
yeah,
yeah,
I
you
didn't.
never stop working. I'm
We can't.
here talking
Yeah,
about how good it felt to stay in bed, and you were like working 24/7.
yeah. It didn't stop for us, but it was definitely an interesting time to live through. And I I guess I enjoyed going to rehab when I did because it was right in the middle of the pandemic, and I got to miss a good chunk of it. Riding the
Yeah.
ambulance through the through the COVID pandemic. Um, but in all reality, we go through nothing quite to this magnitude, but it's like every 2 years we have another health scare. Um, I've since I've been a firefighter, we've gone through SARS and avian flu and Ebola and
Oh,
swine
Ebola.
flu. Swine flu was big for a while, H1N1, whatever. So yeah, we get these mini pandemic things every 2 years or so, but nothing has ever been to this magnitude.
And I remember the question. Um, Now that it's going like back to normal, are you sort of like worried that um I mean, we were talking about that on the pre-live too. Because it was the excuse of your, not we can't get together because of COVID, but now that things are going back to normal, it might you think it's gonna be uh, challenging to, having to say no to getting together or whatever when it's not, you know.
I'm basically gonna take it, one day at a time, one step at a time, and see uh, what what we're looking at as far as the social gathering. Um, yeah, I used a wedding as an example. Like I could I could just use COVID as an excuse to not go for fear of drinking, but I didn't really have to say drinking or anything like that. I could just use COVID. But depending on what it is and who's all going to be there, whether I trust the situation or not,
Hmm.
as the days go by, I find it a little easier to than the day before, to make the correct decision. So yeah, I'm just going to uh, take it as it comes and see how I feel about it. If I'm not having a particularly uh, strong day or strong week, I might sit that one out,
Yeah.
because that still does happen. From time to time, we still get down every now and again, and um, not have to make whether it's having to make some adjustments to our medicine or just go to another
Yeah, the healing
counseling.
process, it's not a straight line, it's just, good days and bad days. Pablo is asking, Tim, this may have been answered before, but as a firefighter, what is the toughest day-to-day mental hurdle you face? That's a good
Um,
question, and it has not been question answered before.
as a
Thank you, Pablo.
firefighter, um, I think there's a lot of anxiety about the unknown for the day to day. There's certainly um, anxieties in the job, and maybe not considered day to day anxieties, but the biggest day to day anxiety is like when you when you're getting ready for work the night before, or on your way into the station. I always, even 15 years later, still think to myself, I wonder what the hell I'm going to see today. Um, and there is a certain kind of anxiety to when the bells go off. Uh, is this going to be just a run of the mill call, or is there going to be some terrible thing awaiting for us when we get there, like a child or anything? Children obviously affects everybody. You know, anything like that. Like what? It's the unknown. I go to work every 3 days and I don't know what the hell I'm getting myself into. It may be a very easy, laid back day, or
Mm,
I may be elbows deep in bodies. We don't know. And I think that's probably, to answer your question, the biggest anxiety. Because while we can handle it, and while we have the training, and while we keep the composure, like I was talking about earlier, and keeping the scene under control, it doesn't mean we're immune to the after effects. Then and there, we're going to be good. We're going to get you through that call. Uh, but what I've seen from a lot of fellow firefighters and those that went down to the center, it's not the it's not the immediate or the there after the call. If we run a bad call, it won't affect us until like 6 months to a year down the road. Um, I'm still carrying a call from 10 years ago that I worked through at the center. 10 years ago, and it's still with me as if it was yesterday. But that's how the traumatic brain works.
yeah.
It was explained to me at the center, like if you have a good memory, like you go fishing, that gets time stamped and filed away in your brain's file system. And that's why it remains as a good memory. If you have a traumatic memory or a traumatic incident happen, then your left and right brain aren't communicating. Everything's a frizz. It's not able to be time stamped and it's not able to be filed away. So it's always just floating around up here. It's always in the now. That's why you can always think of things like that as if it were just yesterday.
And one thing, do they offer like I don't know, like some kind of therapy for you guys there
Yeah,
in the department?
we have a critical incident stress management team that will get put into motion if there is a call that warrants it. Uh, like they just activated the SISM team for a call 2 days ago. Apparently, some in Walkersville here in Frederick County, they had a pediatric hang himself.
Mm,
So the SISM team was hit for that. They went out to the station. They talked to those that were involved on the call, and it's always the same thing. I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't need to go home.
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm fine. And then they'll find out
until they're not.
a year or two down the road, I'm not fine.
I think that's also, in if if we talk about this more and more and more, I think it would be easier for people to accept when they're not fine, because for some reason I don't know, it's hard for them to just say no, I'm not okay. Like it's okay. If you're
Yeah,
not fine, it's totally okay. You're still a human. You're still, Tim. You're still Tim. You still have your both hands and your both feet and everything, and you're still the same person. It
yeah.
doesn't change you at all.
I found it much easier
It
to.
doesn't make you less of a person.
I found it much easier to say I'm fine and then just go home and self medicate, even though I really didn't know that's what I was
And
doing.
that doesn't help either. And that
Yeah,
will make you worse.
yeah. So
A lot
um,
worse.
I've learned to, open up about these things and say this isn't this isn't something that normal people are supposed to see. And
Exactly.
you have to talk about it, and you have to, even if you don't want to, you have to. I'd rather somebody know that it bothered me than to
Mm-hmm.
look at me and say that there's no way that didn't bother you. You're lying to me. That if you say that that didn't bother you, then there's something wrong with you. And-
Yeah. One of the reasons that after I came out to my family about the abuse, that I came out like publicly to my friends and everyone, it was because it was the Me Too movement, and everyone started having an opinion about how, why they wait so long. That's probably a lie, and why they would, and all everyone, and I started hearing a lot of my friends having this sort of opinions, and I was like, wow, have I been friends with you for that long, and you're saying that she's making that up to get attention, for example. So at the end, I got that's when I realized that I was getting triggered, and I came out. It wasn't because I wanted to, well, yes, I wanted to let it out, but it was more because I was like, okay, I'm gonna say it because or I'm gonna lose my friends, and I don't care. Or at least they're gonna stop saying their opinions in front of me,
Mhm.
and just wait until I'm not there, because I cannot keep listening to all of this craziness that I was just being exposed to.
Yeah,
And I came out super publicly. I made a post on Instagram. Everyone saw it, and everyone I got a bunch of DMs of people from school. They were like, "But you were with me, and you made everyone laugh, and how I never knew." And I was like, yeah, well, but I mean, what do you want me to say? I mean, I'm sorry, but at the same
yeah,
time, it's the hearing the other people just not even think what's coming out of their mouth.
hmm
And I was like, okay, I know how I'm gonna at least fix whatever the people that are around me,
yeah.
so I won't get triggered anymore.
And it's been pretty interesting to see how many people are more like we talked about, I guess, a little earlier. How many more people are willing to open up with you when you're willing to open up with them? I guess, does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
also got a lot of friends, like women. They, after I opened up, they told me their stories, and they were, whoops, and they were people that I knew, from a long time, and I had no idea. And they were
yeah,
like, "Oh, you were so brave. This and this happened to me," and it was also like a family member, and I was like, "Yeah, thank you for sharing that." but they've never said it to anyone ever before,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
probably they wouldn't ever. They're not gonna say it.
Yeah. That's been, I guess, for the second half of this year. Um, I guess one of my main missions is um, starting to work for the service work aspect of things, and getting uh, trying to put some outlets there, some more outlets there for people, more tools for the toolbox, um, more experience, strength, and hope. Uh, one of my favorite one of my favorite things about AA, and these chips they give us, is that they tell you straight up that these chips are not to pat ourselves on the back. They're not made for any other purpose but to show the other guy, show the newcomer that this program works. And I love that because it's right in line with like the firefighter mentality. Like, we're not here for awards. We're here to do a job. And if I can get this 1 year chip and show somebody else that's just starting out that it works, and you too can get
Exactly. Yeah.
a 1 year chip, then I think that's pretty special. And I like to be a part of that. And I like to that's why I started the mental health hour show on Saturdays. Um, there's plenty of people, even on HAPS alone, um, that suffer, or I said it earlier. I always hate to throw the word suffer out there. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think we're suffering, but that struggle with
Yeah.
some mental
Struggle.
health aspects of life. Um, I think we should get rid of suffer. Uh, I
And
just
we're
don't.
not victims, we're survivors. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I just don't like the word. But we struggle with some aspects of mental health, and I mean, you can see from the comments alone how many people are here right
Mhm.
now, um, checking it out, and that's going to create conversation. Hopefully, my broadcast gets conversation going, and we're all here for each other.
Exactly.
That's what these support groups are for. Group counseling is some of the best counseling I think available. And if you're not in a group counseling, I suggest you do it. Um, there's nothing quite like the feeling of sitting with five other people that share the same struggles as you. There's no better way to feel not so alone in this world, um, or not so outcast, as we discussed, not so shunned, than to have five other people that are just like you to sit and talk to. Group counseling to me is by far my favorite. Um,
I've never done it. I don't. I'm gonna try to find it, but I don't think that's not like a that's not as common as it is there.
yeah.
The group counseling. Yeah.
Um,
But I'm gonna ask my therapist and see
yeah. They
if
should be able to. They should be able to point you in some sort of direction.
mm, I know there's like in rehab centers they do have that, but I'm not sure if they have it like in 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 where I take my therapy. But yeah, um, yeah, I think this has been um a really productive broadcast. I think we should thank Bo because it was Bo who pointed out to Tim, right? He
Yeah.
was the one who was seeing your broadcast, and by him, like everyone at the end ended up watching you, and that's how I ended up getting in touch with you so we could, do this broadcast, and
Yeah.
that's why, that's part of be in a community, supporting each other. So you could exactly. I hope Bo, he was here.
Oh
Bo,
boy,
Bo. Well,
Bo's in trouble.
yeah,
There it is.
exactly. There it is. So yeah, it was Bo and Veda too. It was like a chain
Yeah,
of
I've made some very interesting friendships, through
yeah.
you and Bo and Veda. Um, and I'm gonna have to go back. I'll tell everybody that's commented. I'm sorry if I haven't seen specific comments. I will go back and look through every comment, and I'll either try and reply or I'll mention it on my broadcast on Saturday. But
I'm
I
gonna
thank
tag
everyone who.
you. I'm gonna tag your name because okay, so you go live you go live every Saturday night, right?
Yeah, Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, 8
Um,
p.m. Eastern time.
I've just unofficially called it the mental health hour. And I talk about um, one aspect of mental health. So this will be the third week. It's still brand new. But last week I did depression, living with depression.
Yeah, I
There'll be
was
more.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be more to come on depression, but rather than do it all in one shot, I'd like to kind of jump around. So I have a few topics. I haven't really decided what we're gonna do this Saturday, but probably something along the lines of significant loss. That's been kind of big this week for me. I've shared a lot about it because it's a huge part of my story. So maybe that.
No, yeah. So everyone should follow Tim, and he goes live every Saturday, and he's doing his own mental health show, which is very brave and very. That's what we need. We need more people talking about this and supporting each other. So it was really good to have you as a guest and
I
hearing
thank
your
you.
story. It was very brave of you, showing your vulnerability and having exposing you to the audience, and everyone showing their empathy, and well, some of them even showing a part of their story. So um I'm glad we did this, and it's you have your chip of your 1 year sober. So that's amazing that we could do it on this day too. It was great. So yeah, I hope we can do another one along the road because there's a bunch of things that we can talk about.
Certainly.
So yeah.
And I don't know what you do on Saturdays, but maybe one Saturday you can come on mine and we can talk.
Oh,
I'm
sure.
Yeah, I'm always happy to come on this show if you need a guest. It doesn't have to be about my story. We can just talk about anything mental health. I love it.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that. I don't do much on Saturdays either. So yeah, and thank you everyone who tune in. I'll be back tomorrow again, and I'll be talking about live streaming as an escape, and I'll be having Mark Goldman as a guest. So yeah, I hope to see you all tomorrow too. And thank you for coming. And
Thank
have
you,
a good
guys.
night. Bye, everyone.